life, your term show.
We are with Massimo Bruno, and this is a thrill for me. This is a man, a myth, a legend from Puglia. I think born in Bari, Italy. I'm not sure, but then ends up in Toronto. Okay, then ends up in Toronto, and now you're back in Puglia, in Monopoly. And we had I think the experience of our lives hanging out with you and your wife on your land when you were cooking for us this past summer. And I just want to share your story, because what you went through to build what you did in Toronto, and then now that what you're doing in Italy, to me, it's quite inspiring. So Massimo, if we can begin with just giving everybody a little overview of where are you now, and what were you doing in Toronto? Can you just paint a little bit of a picture for people who don't know you, and then we're going to dive into some questions.
Absolutely. First of all, thank you for having me, and it's been fantastic. We talked over this summer, having me on the podcast, and it's funny because the beginning of the year is like 2025, and like me and my wife, how we want to be like 2025 to be, and we said let's rock the 2025. And then it's funny now that I'm with a rock star, so that's perfect. Like, it's a perfect way to end how we start the year, was like to rock 2025. But just to put everything, try to be, brief about the 23 years that I've been in Canada. So, and I came to Canada in September 2001. So actually a date not to remember for many, but I came right after September 11. And the reason I came to Canada was actually, for me, I wanted to do another experience. So 2001, we didn't have much of a social media. So going also to North America was a big dream for a lot of European, in particular for Italian. And Canada I choose because my family emigrated to Canada. And so for me, it was easier. I was already born as a Canadian citizen. My father was Canadian citizen. So many things aligned, and these things, how things align also for me, my move back. But many things align as my aunt just opened up a restaurant in Toronto. It was 2001. I wanted to do this experience, and she said, why don't you come over, give us some help. So it was the perfect timing. And so I came to Canada, so in September 2001, worked at a restaurant, also ran one of those restaurants, and then I started doing the Massimo Bruno Supper Club. This started at the same time that I host my first tour. So I've done, the tour was, this was May 2006. So we're going into almost like 20 years since I did my first tour. And the great way for me to highlight the food, where I was coming from, is to host a dinner, has now become the supper club. And this would have been 20 years ago. And there was together my first supper club, together with my first tours that I did in Puglia, my own region. So it was a good way for me to reconnect where I was coming from, and start officially the supper club that date, so almost 20 years ago. And then I never, to be honest, thought I would be back so fast, talking about our life. How did you decide to come back? And just to make the story short, it was the idea was eventually to come back. But when you come back, to Italy as a family, me, my wife, of my daughter, when you make those decisions, I always say you need to be kind of all on the same line, on the same frequency. And how I came to the decision to come back, it was actually my daughter, just to make all these years has made multiple trips back and forth and doing the tour. So it was a way for me to see my family, to also host people in my own region. But my daughter was really what was the sparkle to make this decision to go back. As I always ask her, would you go in Europe and do 1 year sabbatical? And she was already at that time 12, 13 years old. So a little bit a particular time, for almost going to the teenage years. And then when she said that, one day, all of a sudden, this would have been April 2023, she said, Dad, do you remember what you asked me all of it, all these years, going in Europe for 1 year? She said, I'm ready for it. And that's how it starts. And sparkle into the move, in the way sparks. When you, I think, in life, clear in one decision, you might don't even know. But when you know it's the right times, many things align. And so sometime moving back, we decide in April 2023, we would move back. In May, we decided we might move back the year after. At the end of May, we actually decide to move in September of the same year. And one thing, when I go backward, you say this is actually crazy, you know, how everything came so fast. But when things are aligned, everything aligns fast. So it's amazing how life, everything aligns, like from housing, from moving, from work. As I was also looking to rent a new space for my supper club on the same month. So I looked into 5 different spaces that year, and for so many strange reasons, a place didn't come through. It was not even economical. It was one couldn't get a liquor license. One of them is like, you know, was just no right for the timing. And then I remember the last place of the 5 that I was almost ready to sign a deal. And I go back to see the place again. And honestly, close to that place, someone was doing drugs just almost next door. And when I saw that, I said, you know what? This is it. Someone is telling me this is not the right time. No, yeah. It was like, and there was many things that align on top of that. You know, I can go over, but again, it was an alignment. And I think when we're clear, we're ready to make that decision. So, and either they can be to come back to Italy or go to another country. And sometimes it's also good to not have the time to think about it too much. And that's when we decide to move in at the end of May. You only have 3 months. Really 4 months, 3 months really, to get ready. And we didn't really have the time to think about it. And actually going backward, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Because when you make those decisions, like, you know, when you go backward, you make the decision of that size, if you have too much time to think about it, sometimes you might end up not making it.
Yeah. So, okay. I want to walk. There's a lot you shared there, and I just want to get into your mind a little bit. Before we go further, if anyone needs to be inspired or get some, you know, if you're in the Toronto area or in your Canada somewhere and you want to watch what Massimo Bruno is doing in Italy, I don't usually do this, but we need to share your Instagram handles now because you're fun. Like, I'm not really on Instagram, but my wife will show me your updates when you're on your bicycle going through Monopoly, buying some food or going to some market. And I'm like, geez, I want to be there with Massimo right now. So what is your Instagram handle? Can you share that now?
Yeah, absolutely. My Instagram handle is a Massimo Bruno Supper Club. And it's kind of, I kept the same name. So you can just follow me on Instagram. I also have a Facebook page. And also my website has I don't even know if people still check the website. But
sure. What's the website?
MassimoBruno.com.
MassimoBruno.com. Okay. And we'll link to everything in the show notes for this episode. But I want to ask you, when you start the supper club that we went to, so Rockstar, we did a couple of Christmas parties for our team at your supper club. I believe that was the Liberty Village location. Am I remembering properly? Correct. That was Liberty Village. Okay. When you were working with your aunt and then you eventually opened your own supper club, when I saw you in Liberty Village, you know, that requires some sort of lease to be signed. You're hiring staff. You're making a commitment to doing this. When you when you first left working with your aunt to go out on your own, what was the conversation that you were having with yourself? Like, were you freaking out that you were going to go do this, or did you not have to sign a lease the first time you started your own supper club, so maybe the risk was lower? Like, what was that transition like from working with your aunt to starting your supper club? How did you do that? Because a lot of people, I think, in life are working for someone. It doesn't, maybe they're not in the, you know, in the hospitality industry, maybe they're in another industry, but they do want to make that leap to do something themselves. And you were able to do it. What inspired that first move? How did you do that?
I believe, again, things just happen to be. And so sometimes things happens in life. So actually, I was thinking already going my own. And of course, like I can say, like, I was afraid to go into it because it was something completely new. What actually gave me really the point to really make that change, believe it or not, was an injury that I had. and always things, even bad things in life, good or bad, happen for a reason. And so I look into something positive in that. So I was just playing basketball. I had an injury. No, I would say super serious injury, minor injury. What that injury did to me, it actually gave me the time to stay home and think. So when you're also in the restaurant world and you want to go on your own, but you're into the routine. So sometimes you don't actually have the time to think. And so when this injury happened, I remember this was around December, and I was forced to be home almost like for a month. I could not move. I couldn't go to work. And so it gave me really that time to think about it with myself, what I wanted to do. And when I look at it, she said, okay, this is the universe telling me there's maybe you need to stop and think. And so that was an important moment to think go into my own. Of course, I was already thinking going into my own, but also at that moment, I said, okay, I'm staying here for a month. I'm still living. I'm still making it. And because when you're into the workload, you cannot think how you can live without that routine. Yeah. So that was a momentum. And also, I wanted to follow really my dream. So it was the two things together. So it was I was young enough also that I wanted to create. It was something that I really respect, something that I really wanted. So it was together was a supper club. It was also start doing some personal chefing. So which means go people homes and they cook, and now happens a lot, but at that time was actually something new.
New concept.
Not many people did that.
You're saying something pretty interesting there, because I realized when I left my corporate job to start Rockstar, I didn't have the time off like you just described, having a basketball injury. But what I did is I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and probably for an hour and a half every morning for 3 years, I would meditate a little bit, I would read a little bit, and I would write my ideas down. Some people might call it affirmations. Other people might just say you were planning. So, that was my space. So I kind of created it a little differently, but I also needed that quiet time, because once you get into the busyness of the corporate world, answering emails and being reactive to the world, you cannot be proactive. And it sounds like you were able to find that space. I'm curious that when I saw you in Liberty Village, that was quite a big supper club. You could host a lot of people, and you had an open kitchen. And by the way, if it's not obvious yet, Massimo Bruno's food is incredible. It's absolutely. And you're hosting in Toronto. You just hosted this summer, I feel like 1 million dinners, which we'll get to. I thought it was one dinner you were hosting, and then you're like, no, I'm doing 8 million or whatever it was. I was blown away.
That was when I came in Toronto, yes. I did
yeah. So we're going to talk about that in a second, but how did you feel that restaurant where I saw you, the supper club there, that was seating quite a lot of people. I can't remember how many people it would seat, but it absorbed.
I could seat up to 70, really 80 max.
Okay, so you're seating 70 to 80 people in there. How did you get the business? Was it just word of mouth? How were you able to sustain that type of, that was a central Toronto lease, that was a big production, that was not a small location. How were you able to do that? What was your marketing strategy?
So the marketing strategy for that, and I believe I wanted to create something new. And I also wanted to recreate something that was not just built, let's say at that time also was still popular when you made food, having a food review. But I wanted to stick to my vision. So in a way to stick to my vision was to build a business the way I wanted. So I didn't follow from my point of view, it was mainly word of mouth. So it was really the brick by brick. But there was a real business, and it really increased. So what I think my business was not going 0 to 10 all of a sudden, but was slowly increasing. But that base of the people that I knew was really rock solid, talking about rock solid. Mm. And I knew I could count on them, and they also give me the strength to not necessarily have that kind of food, just have a good review. So my marketing was mainly, I would say, me and the food. So I was making sure that people would have an experience that would be, I wouldn't say better or different than any other experience. So when I started doing the supper club, it was something different. And so that was in the same time like my marketing tools. And I also wanted to create a community. So that time to having a dinner and a communal table with people coming, and lots of time people didn't know each other. People would bring their own wine. And so I let that be actually my main marketing tools, was like really be myself. And the business I wanted to recreate slowly, because I started from renting a place to do the supper club. Then I had a studio downtown Toronto and on King Street, when that area was quite sketchy. So I had one that was a New York style. I actually got my first lease, like really talking about things meant to be. It was like, I just need just a room, a small space to do some prep, but also I wanted to host some people, because my wife get to a point and say, you need to get out of the house. I love you, but
be gone.
You need to get out. We just had a baby, so Francesca was small, and she said I said, no, I can still do from. No, you need to get out. So, and then we found this place on King Street East. And again, things are meant to be. I bring my daughter with me. She's small, because probably, I don't know if they're going to give you a lease for a food allowance studio. And so, and my first lease was actually an handshake. So my first landlord, we said, we never done something like you wanted to do in this building. And I don't know how she said, but I'm going to give it a try. We gave a handshake. We had one of those old leases, was one page, yellow lease, $800 a month. And that's how we started to grow. And from there, the expansion was actually organic. So again, word of mouth, we started 12 people, 20 people. Next door was leaving. We put a wall down. We start to expand. So that growth, when I met you to my studio, 70, 80 people, I felt really strong, because I built it gradually, but was really strong. I had a really good following. And so I know I could sustain that growth. But most of all, I could be myself. So in a way that people would come there, I could deliver the experience I wanted. And if maybe I would have done just a restaurant when I started my supper club, probably I would have done, yes, what I wanted, but I also had to pay the bills. And so at the same time, you can make the experience a little bit what you want, but also what people want. You try to find a compromise. Well, for me, it was like having a vision, word of mouth, and delivering the experience that I believed in it. And I thought people would understand that and spread the word. So that was my main, really, marketing tools, was to be myself.
Hey everyone, before we dive back into the podcast, I've got a quick shout out about the Your Life, Your Terms report. This is Tom's weekly newsletter where he and Nick share real stories, experiences, and powerful insights to help you live life on your terms. Each week, Tom breaks down the economy, real estate, macro trends, and Bitcoin, and gives you actionable steps to make these insights work for you. No fluff, no vague predictions, just a clear path to thriving no matter what's going on in the world. Tens of thousands of Canadians are already getting the real information they need to level up their lives every week. I can honestly say it's the only newsletter that I've stayed subscribed to for years. It delivers real value that keeps me coming back for more. Join us and start getting the insights and tools to create the life you want, plus entertaining and inspiring stories from Tom and Nick along the way. Sign up for free at rockstarinnercircle.com/get-started and start living life on your terms. That's rockstarinnercircle.com/get-started. Your first step to living life on your terms.
That makes sense to me now. And I guess now this summer, when you hosted those outdoor kind of like supper club in Toronto here, and the way everybody comes together, not everybody knows each other. You serve kind of like family style. So everyone's kind of forced to get to know each other. I feel like you're just satisfying a need that people are craving for, where people want community, they want connection, and kind of in a world of social media and digital everything, like we're doing now, Massimo, where I want to be right next to you and, having a glass of wine with you. It's you're filling a need there. So it doesn't surprise me. So I just want to fast forward, because I mentioned it now a few times. In the summer in Toronto, how many did you, I'm just curious, how many was it? Was it nine?
Yeah, I did a 9 event in 11 days.
Nine events in 11 days.
9 events in 11 days. I was very
I was worried for you when you told me. I saw you. We were in Italy in July with you, and I was worried for you. But I knew you were going to do it. But I was like, wow, that's a lot. So, and then how many people were at each event? Just curious.
Usually we're around 60 people or so, or sometimes a little bit more or so.
So you were feeding 60 people 9 times in 11 days.
Nine times in 11 days. But the greatest things was, honestly, I sold them. I knew I would sell them. That's something in me. But honestly,
I feel like it was a hot ticket. I feel like it was a hot ticket. Like people wanted that ticket.
3 hours we sold the event, and the most beautiful things, honestly, and why did I did so many, and because once you have one or you do the preparation when you're not on site, and it's easier to do one back to back instead of doing it probably once a week. Second things, really, I wanted to see as many people as possible in terms that they've been following like all these years. So it's a great way also to see the people that they come to you.
So it satisfied a need for you. It was good for you too. Yeah.
And also the great things about when you have that many events, you also need the good staff. And one of my, maybe I would say my biggest accomplishments also been my staff. People that work with me for years, and even though they all have other jobs, everyone was happy just to come back and help me out.
Yeah.
Because it couldn't be just like, yeah, I can do the event, but to do 60, 70 people, you need that force. And so to have was accomplished because, at the end of the day, when you work, those are the people you spend most time with it. So it was the whole energy from the staff and the people coming. So there was real love. People say, how you doing this like every year? And I said, I won't say that's not the goal. I said, every year it's his own thing. I'm having maybe now like hard time to plan way ahead. I said every year is like, yeah, that's the intention, and then but what's called, it's maybe that's not what I'm thinking that I'm gonna do for the next 10, 15 years. And so when I can, all the conditions are met, absolutely, it will be my pleasure to do it. So and sorry, as you said before, the interaction around the table, pass me the plates. Just putting the tables like that's an interaction. That's what I wanted to recreate was, yes, an authentic experience, but I always say it's beyond the food. It's really the love and recreate an experience around the table. That's something that I learned from my mom, grandmothers, growing up in an Italian family. At the end of the day, that's what I wanted to share was Italian food, but eat in an Italian way, interaction, community feeling.
Yeah, I remember my family in Croatia would sit around the table in the village. People from other houses in the village, other families might stumble into our house, and everybody would hang out in the kitchen for like 6 hours. It felt like organic. Like they might show up at 7 or 8 p.m., but before you know it's at 1 a.m, everybody's still sharing wine and drinking and laughing, and the kids are falling asleep underneath the table, or at least that was me. And it was like, it at the time, I didn't know what to make of it. Like it felt good, but now looking back, I'm like, wow, that really made a lot of connections. Like that really satisfied a human need. It also produced a lot of gossip in the village and everybody kind of talking about each other. It also produced like a whole other thing. But
all of the other things, yeah.
But I used to look at that as a negative, but now I realize, no, like the positive in that type of interaction outweighs any of that other negative that I used to think of, and I kind of miss it a little bit. I'm not going to lie. So what you're doing with the supper clubs here in Toronto, I think it's just kind of bringing back that spark, that moment. It's really, really cool. I have a question for you. You've brought up a few times things happen for a reason. And I know people say that in general, but where does that come from with you? That was something taught by your family? That's something you came up with yourself and decided that's how life is? Why do you say that?
Because things really, maybe now based on a little bit of experience. And so things happen for a reason, like bad things happen for a reason. So there's always an opportunity something. So we decide how to look something. Okay, this is bad, or maybe this happened because, it started a few years ago. I can't hide that my wife, I cannot. It's the truth. My wife helped me a lot, even with the meditation, also with the self-affirmation. You know, me as like an Italian, when she came up with all this idea for me. So we don't affirm, like Italians don't do affirmation, meditations, like, I was like, we don't do these kind of things, you know. But then she got me a little bit into it, but then I got to see things resolve myself. So when I'm just learned now that whenever something happen and you're clear within you, things happen like, you know, for a reason, and it happens fast. So I really believe that, and also like my business, when I look back, so now I can say from an experience point of view, now I don't need to be convinced, because when I look backward, so many things aligned. So my move to Italy aligned. The opening the supper club aligned, starting the business, the business also with the tour business aligned. So really everything came together. So when I look backwards, everything makes sense. And so when people say, do you regret anything? As if I go back in time, I don't regret anything, because otherwise I wouldn't be here. Mm-hmm. And so it makes you look, even things negative that happen, you take them as a good thing.
When you're in Italy now, I'm curious, what are you doing with people? Because now you have this wonderful business where you're doing some stuff in Canada, but now you're also doing stuff in Italy. When I was there, it felt like you were doing food tours, but also bigger tours, like you were in Florence for a little while. What are you doing in Italy right now? Is it a combination of food tours with Canadians who are visiting, or Americans, and longer tours? What are you up to over there? I'm trying to figure out what you're doing, and I'm going to talk about your land.
Actually, a really good question, and you know, as my wife says, "Hold on, you're all over the place." It's like, but right now, I would say this is my main job. So when I started in the supper club, so I host tours in Italy, in different regions of Italy. I call this tour Massimo Bruno and Friends. And I just love, because I think about people that have been coming with me in Italy. For me, they're friends. It's a community. And I start with my region, Puglia. So I start with the small groups.
Which is the heel. For anyone listening, that's the heel of the boot. Puglia is the heel of the boot, right? Yeah, okay.
The heel of the boot. And that's how I like to describe it. And then a lot of people over the year, they wanted to come back. So now that I'm back, it's been a couple of years ago, I add more regions to Puglia. So I do Puglia, I host tours in Sicily, in Tuscany. So when you were here, I was heading to Tuscany. And also I do Sardinia. And this year I just came back, I add the Piemonte. So my tours, let's say a little bit different. They're more personal. It's more like almost a supper club translating to the tour, because I host all the tours myself. And as my staff are with the collaborator in different regions of Italy. And people ask me, are those food tours? And say, it's Italy. So start with that. I already start from a food tour. And on top of that, when I'm not on tour, hosting the tours, so I'm here in Puglia, I have a lot of guest friends or clients that they come either from Canada. Also, like this year, also my American market increased a little bit too. So where I host day food tours. So this was something, again, no plan, but I started really enjoying it. I started with a friend coming, like, can you just take me around a different place? And I said, what I need to do is like, just be yourself, just like hang out. And so the day food tour is something I'm really loving it. I started doing it more this year. It's a good way so people can come, maybe they cannot join the tours, but they want to spend the time with me.
Because the other tours are how long? Like the other tours
usually their tour is between 1 week and 10 days.
1 week and 10 days. Okay.
So 1 week to 10 days, depends on the region. 1 week in Puglia, and then 10 days, an example, if we go in Sicily, 10, 11 days. And so that's usually the average length. But some people that maybe they cannot join a tour, or sometimes they have a family, they come like maybe with kids. So they like more just, they personalized day food tours. So that's something that I do. And what I love about it, I'm still be able to be creative. My day food tour, they're never the same, because I go always with the flow. I'm not like that kind of guy. As you can see, even this interview, I'm not really structured. So I'm a little bit.
It's perfect.
I go with the flow.
It's perfect. It's perfect.
I go with the flow, and it always works out because sometimes you might have a plan to go focaccia that place, olive oil there, and maybe it doesn't work. And but being in my own region allows me to do that because there's so many things to do. So that's what I do, and I do some cooking now. So also when I'm not on tour, sometimes someone rents a villa, rents a place if it's a small party.
Okay.
I go there. So that I do it almost now, almost as an hobby, and I'm really enjoying doing that too.
Yeah, you have a good vibe about you, so that's why people want to hang out with you. Okay, I have a question. Because I feel like this is a bucket list item for many people, to do a food tour in Italy. Like this is like a big deal. And to do it with a chef, with somebody like yourself who's going to take them around, this is like a big deal. I have a question on just some food I want to ask you about for people who don't know. In Puglia, by the way, I'm embarrassed to admit that I had never been to the Puglia region before, and we had spent a lot of time all over Italy. Carol, my wife's family, is in Florence. So, we had a lot of experience up there, and I was worried about the food. I remember before we went to Puglia, I remember telling Carol, like, oh my gosh, like I love going to Italy, but I love the food so much. Like, are we going to eat okay? And we were down there in Ostuni and Monopoli and Puglia, and so we landed in Bari, and then we went around to these places, and oh my God, we ate like just champions. This one restaurant in Ostuni was like out of this world. But I had a coffee in Monopoli that I swear was an espresso with some kind of almond froth or like an almond, like, can you just tell me, like, what was this espresso I was having? Was that an espresso lecce or something? No, it wasn't.
Yeah, that's actually called the caffè leccese. So okay. It's a Lecce style. So Lecce is the main city, southern part of Puglia. Lecce style coffee. So it's perfect if you have a hot day. So it's actually espresso on ice with almond milk. So it's almost like an almond milk syrup. So you put on the bottom and then you mix it. So refreshing. Oh. And what's called so it's caffè leccese. Actually, many people don't know, but it's particular from one town, from the city of Lecce, but now it's expanding. So we have the caffè leccese. In Puglia, we also have an espressino.
Yeah, I saw espressino on the menu. I'm like, what is this? A mini espresso? But it's not. What is an espressino?
Espressino is neither an espresso macchiato. It's between an espresso macchiato and a cappuccino. It's
only Italians could go between a macchiato and a cappuccino. Like, what? How much space do you have to go there?
I think it was created because people like to have multiple coffee. So if you have a cappuccino, so an example, I love espressino because instead one cappuccino, I have 4 espressino a day. So I have a chance. Any chance the Italian can have, so it's like any chance the Italian can have to go for coffee, it's perfect. So this one, the espressino, when I tell people, but then we call it espressino only in this area, in Puglia. Already, if you go to the next region, if you ask an espressino, they might give you a short espresso. So
okay, which is what I assumed it was. Okay. Oh, go ahead.
No. You go ahead.
Okay. So the next food question I have for you is, you made some spaghetti for us on your land. First of all, for those people who don't know, Massimo has some land just outside Monopoli. I don't know how. I feel like it's secret, so like a secret location. But okay, so you have this land. It's beautiful outside Monopoli, and we were just honored to be able to go there with you. And then you cooked for us out there, and the sunsets over this vineyard that's just over kind of like the crest of this one hill are just like magical.
My vineyard.
Your vineyard, and then that evening, you had lights strung up on the trees, and we're outside eating. Like, it was just beautiful. But you made spaghetti in like a frying. I was telling my sister-in-law this, who's Italian, and she's like, no, that's not how you make spaghetti. I'm like, no, I'm telling you, Massimo made spaghetti in a big frying pan, kind of with high edges, like with the tomato sauce in there. And he just took the spaghetti and it was dry spaghetti. And it was like, you cooked it. Can you just share a little bit about what is that? It was amazing.
Absolutely. This is right now is the one of the most famous dish here in Puglia, which was done since the 60s, but it became really popular in the last 5 years. It's called spaghetti all'assassina. So it really translates assassin style spaghetti. And it's this pasta. What's the difference? The pasta is not cooked in the water. So you cook into a pan, usually either a cast iron pan or even like a larger, you can also do a non-stick pan. And you cook the pasta in a little bit of a tomato broth sauce, a sauce that's really liquid, and then you let it dry down, and then like you put olive oil and you let it fry the pasta. So you let it char until it's burned. So the idea of this pasta has to be spicy and burned at the same time. And it's very typical from the city of Bari. That's where it starts. And then, of course, like every Italian, there's always a little variation how who makes the pasta. And I make my own version too, as I like to add lots of fresh tomato. I like it fried and charred, but something in the middle. So it's a dish. It's actually even on my Instagram feed. I put just an example how to make a pasta all'assassina, spaghetti all'assassina, and it used to be made only in Bari. Now, of course, each town is learning how to make it.
It's spreading.
It's a must-have when you come in Bari. You have to have spaghetti all'assassina.
Do people ever book you for you to go out to your land there and cook out there for them? Is that something you do too, or no?
It's something depends. Usually, people that I know. And what's called, and they book me because sometimes it's like in terms of the book, yes, they can book me to do that. You know, it's like my availability. I kind of create talk about things that are meant to be. I wasn't looking to buy a land, but I said to my wife, geez, sometime I wish I would have a place to have a picnic. You know, it's like, but at least that's the washroom, right?
You need the minimum requirements is you don't want to squat in the bushes. You need a washroom.
Exactly. So it's like, and then I was like, I was online. I was not even checking. Maybe I was checking some real estate stuff. And sometimes I like to check it out. And this place popped up. It was a piece of land. They used to do little events, and guess what? It's got electricity, it's got washroom, it's got it all. So I was like, that's great, because really I wasn't looking to buy a house. And so I showed to my wife, I said, oh my God, let's get it. So in Italy, things are not fast, but it's not like Canada, you buy a house. But I saw it, I called the guy, I went to see, it was actually a private sale the day after. We liked it, and it was like, we shake hands, he said, that's a done deal. So and again, this was one thing that me and my wife, we really discussed. And then it popped up.
Something I can observe from you just from the outside is that to me, life always responds to action. It doesn't really respond to thinking, especially as you get older. You can talk yourself out of anything because you have so much experience that you could always find a reason not to do something based on your experience. But what I've learned through life is that life unfolds to you the way you want it with just consistent action. And, you seem to be somebody who just keeps kind of going forward and taking action. Like you have an idea, you sign a lease with a handshake and a one-page yellow piece of paper, then the wall comes down and you expand it further. Then you end up in Liberty Village. Then you did some other stuff in Canada. COVID happens. You end up coming to Italy. Like you just keep going. And you mentioned that you have a little haphazardness to you in the discussion and stuff. I don't take it that way. I take it you as someone who just really is kind of leaning into life. Like you're just going forward and kind of following the emotion and the love of what you're doing. And life's opening up to you because of that. So I know that might sound a little crazy, but to me, it's just how I observe you from the outside, and it's just quite beautiful. I have a question for you on food, more food. Sorry, because I love the food in Italy, and why do you think what's the wheat? Like I noticed, like and maybe I don't know if you know this, like the durum wheat. Like what's the deal? Like why is it that when I digest bread there and I come here, is it the flour that's different? I know enough about durum wheat and 00. Like, is the wheat different between Italy and Canada? What's going on there?
It could be. There's many things that even over the year, I also tried to figure out. And I think the wheat, we use the durum wheat for the pasta.
And we don't use that. North America doesn't really use durum wheat, or we do use.
Yeah, they actually the pasta made it. A lot of the durum wheat they actually use in the pasta that then is sold to North America is actually from Canada. Mm-hmm. And so, but the durum wheat that's sold here in Italy in the pasta is the durum wheat, usually mainly from Puglia. And I think it's something to do a little bit, yes, with the wheat. I also
And the process, it's the processing of it, from what I
It's the
understand. 'Cause
process also
I know
the
it's sold from
ingredient.
Canada, but we don't have the facilities to process durum wheat. I think we ship it to Italy. And
Yes,
then you
most of
guys
it
do,
gets
you
shipped to
do.
Italy. And there was also these big things. Maybe this is not correct to say, but in Italy there's these things where like now you go buy the pasta. They want pasta that's produced with Italian wheat, and so
Sure.
if you buy a package durum wheat, because they also say it's not sprayed as many times, so it's a little bit healthier. But also a lot of the stuff that in the product, in the wheat problem, I think it comes when you buy sometime just a simple product, sometime in Canada, has ingredients in it. So here, when you buy wheat, it's only wheat, like just as says wheat, like every other product. So sometimes the difference is not just in the wheat, but all the other ingredients. So let's say there's less preservative in the food. Now this is like a big topic, but I also think that as Italian, I always say we have 30 million people are chef, and 30 million is usually a soccer referee. So maybe that 30 million soccer referee is getting a little bit less number now. Now maybe 10 million are becoming tennis referee, because in soccer seems we're not good anymore. But
No, you're good. You guys are either don't make a tournament or you win the tournament. That's how it is.
you win the tournament. So
You either don't make the World Cup or you win the World Cup. You don't make the Euro or you win the Euro. That's how it is with you guys. Okay, I've had enough.
So I was like, exactly. Like, and so what's called, so when it comes to food, everyone has an idea, but I think it's a lot to do with like, wheat to be, if you have like a less refined wheat, and also like, less sprayed in some way, the wheat that you use here, I would say like it would be easier to digest, but it's also like very important the ingredients you put in it. So sometimes I don't think it's just the wheat, I think it's the whole package of the food that you eat here. Also, we have to understand the relationship between wheat or food and stress. And so sometimes I also see a lot of people that they come in Europe and they say, maybe I don't gain weight. And sometimes I do tours because probably we walk way more. We also have a little bit less stress. And so I think we think the quality is better, but actually I think it's like our body is able to process that food better, because so that's my personal experience.
Interesting. I never thought about that.
As also the lifestyle goes into like, like people say, oh, but Italian, they should be huge for all the pasta they eat, right? But if you think about it, we I eat minimum one plate of pasta a day, but one plate that I eat it's Italian style. It's like 100, 200 grams. It feeds 4 Canadian, 1 Italian. But maybe I have a lunch, so then I have the whole day to burn it off, and probably the wheat it's healthier. I would say the 00, I don't think it's healthier, because 00. Maybe I have to say something that's not even helps us, but it's actually a very refined flour.
Okay, that's how I understood it as well. Okay.
So it's a very refined flour. And when flours are very refined, let's say, are not really good for your gut. And so, so it's like we use this almost in, we don't really have like an all-purpose flour, but here our generic all-purpose was a 00. Now it's a little bit a marketing things too, but it's like actually, wait until you buy flour in Italy. It's insane. The first time I went, it's like 60 kinds of.
You need a PhD. Yeah. I got it.
But
okay. Before I leave the food.
Sorry if I didn't answer your question straight away, but because it's one of those questions that can have 100 answer, but I don't have an answer for.
And I don't think anybody has a definitive answer on this. I mean, no, that's great. I know when I came back from Italy this year, I ended up going to Italy because I was trying to recreate Italy. So I go, of course, there's Italian stores all over Toronto where you could buy all kinds of stuff, especially up in Vaughan and stuff. My brother-in-law knows all the stores, and there's a bunch of Italian friends who take me to great Italian restaurants in Vaughan that are in industrial units with an old nonna in the back who's still cooking. And it's like the best food you're ever going to eat. But from the outside, you would never know that it's like this amazing amazing place. But there's someone coming to mind who just took me to a place like that a little while ago. But Italy's kind of like a cheat code because you just feel like you're a little bit like in Italy. You know, they're making all the nice pastries and the espressos cooking there. You can get some nice fresh pasta they have under the counter there.
Yeah.
They have sourdough bread there. You know, you ask them, is this durum wheat? They're like, yes, that's durum wheat. So you feel like you're, you know, they have olive oils from Sicily, you know, in the beautiful bottles.
Actually, Italy olive oil is great.
I'm sure it's amazing. It's amazing with all the different varieties of olive oil, because I found when this year when I was in Puglia, like the amount of olive oil we were having was just next level. So when I came home, I'm like, we got to keep this up. So now I have a glass bottle on our kitchen counter that never goes away. And we use so much of it. It doesn't go rancid or anything because we're using so much of the olive oil every day that that's continued. Yeah, it's perfect. Okay, before I leave the food thing, and yeah, we have enough time. Before we leave the food thing, I just want to, is there any food that's coming to mind that's capturing your attention in Calabria or Puglia or, you know, Tuscany? Or is there anything top of mind for you right now that you're kind of playing with or that you want people to know about? I'm just curious.
Actually, I just came back from Piemonte, so Turin area. It's like it's a great region, and also for the food is a little bit different. So. You know,
so
like
is that where to it? And so I'm in the northern Italy now?
It's, I would say, like an hour and a half, like or so from Milan. So it would be northwest of Italy, and you're right on the border with France. So it's like
northwest of Milan. Okay.
Exactly. So like west of there. So like I just came back and just maybe I love the food there probably because living now in the south and of course it's very Mediterranean. There is very different. So there are dishes like vitello tonnato. So it's a slow roasted veal served with a tuna sauce. So a combo that for so many people it's so strange, but
that's strange.
Slowly it's becoming more popular. Or they have also like they have a lot of flan dishes served with the cheese fondue, and so right now maybe I'm from there. You know, of course it was the time for the white truffle, so we had a lot of beautiful white truffle with the pasta. Which is made mainly of egg yolk and flour. So this was called tagliarine. So usually when you make a egg pasta, you use the whole eggs. In this case, mainly it's with the egg yolk. So the pasta is nice and bright yellow, but it's got this very nice rich taste. So that's something that I'm looking for to cook a little bit more. I cooked food from Piemonte before, but now I feel like very inspired because it's something I haven't been eating in the South much. And I really enjoy it. It's rich, so it's not something that you cook every day, but re-inspired me of the diversity of the Italian food. So not just Piemonte. Say, well, it's a small country, but we have so many different variety, different things. You know, like even the veal with tuna sauce.
It just blows me. I had some of the most simple dishes in Ostuni there in Puglia. I had just spaghetti with olive oil and garlic and maybe rosemary. Would it be rosemary? I forget. What was it?
Sage, maybe. No.
Maybe sage. I can't remember. My wife's going to laugh here. But it was the most beautiful spaghetti I've ever had. It was just olive oil, a little bit of garlic, and one other thing, maybe sage. And I was freaking out eating this thing. Like I'm like, Carol, this is the best spaghetti I've ever had. This is insane. And it's the ingredients here are just so simple, you know?
I think I'm with you on that. It's like a simplicity. It's I think also in life, me as a cook or as a chef, when you start as a chef, as a cook, you also wanted to impress. And sometimes you might make something that's very, maybe looks beautiful or you go a little bit beyond. And I think I see not just in me, but as a lot of chefs and cook, after they reach what they wanted to reach in their career, they go back to simple because maybe you also build the confidence. And serving a dish with just 3-4 ingredients, you understand that you have to know to put it together, but simplicity at the end, the essence, as you said, that was the most delicious things. And maybe if it's a young chef that wants to make that spaghetti, but okay, I'm gonna have 3 different spices, I'm gonna have the different meat, I'm gonna do this. And sometimes I think it takes confidence and confidence even within ourselves to know what we like. And takes confidence to eat simple and cook simple.
That's fascinating what you just said, because I find in finance, I know this is going to be a crazy comparison here, but in finance, when you start off, you think very simply. I'm going to invest in, for example, a rental property. That's it. That's like my whole strategy. Or I'm going to buy some gold. And that's my whole strategy. And then as somebody develops their career in finance, they get very complicated, all these derivative products and these bond products, fixed income, percentage allocation to equities, and they get complicated. And then, as people kind of get a little further in their career, they return, in my opinion, to simplicity. And they're like, no, you could just get this rental property and that's all you need. You know what I mean? And it's the same thing, I think, in every journey. As you learn more, you want to get more complicated and show that you know all these things. But then eventually you can kind of strip away the confusion and return to the simplicity, and it's a lot more powerful. So it's kind of like
it's
this
easy to understand, even like as the financial world and the food, at the end of the day, is what we also understand.
And it just makes
I think it translates with us better. So I think that was also like a good comparison. So sometimes, simplicity, easy to understand.
Totally. Okay, so I want to make sure I cover this, because to our family, going to Europe every summer is a big deal. But if you're not going to, so I want to cover this in a second, but in Toronto, Are you going to be returning this 2026 to Toronto, do you believe, or do you not know yet? And how would be, so I don't want people to miss this, because our family would, by the time we found out about what you were doing, it was like fully booked. We had a family friend reach out to us and say, I have these tickets for this supper club. 2 people, that I was going to take in my party of like 12 aren't going to make it. Do you want to come? And we're like, well, who's this for? And they're like, this guy, you probably don't know, you haven't heard of him, Massimo Bruno. We're like, you have tickets to Massimo Bruno supper club and you're telling us? I go, we know Massimo, like what's going on here? So when are the tickets released usually? Do you release them like February, March, April, May? Like, actually, how would people know about
that? But the most important things, maybe I miss like to say before, the best way is actually to sign up to my newsletter.
Yeah, so okay, that's on your website.
Either on my Instagram feed, Massimo Bruno Supper Club, on my bio, there's a link where you can sign up to my newsletter, or even on my website. That's the best way sometimes to communicate with me. So if I go at massimobruno.com, you just sign up for a newsletter, and we sell really once every 2 months. So we're not kind of like send multiple newsletter. And usually I give updates of what's upcoming. So upcoming tours, an example now, it's the newsletter coming for Christmas. And usually who sign up with the newsletter it has the priority to purchase tickets when they got announced, probably I would say around this year, April, May, when usually I tell in the newsletter when the dates will be announced, and people can buy the tickets through the newsletter. So that's, and I feel like people
and I feel like people buy tickets for groups. Like I feel like families are going as a group, or friends are going as a group, which is so cool. And then that group's sitting with other groups, and it's this big thing. And I'm telling you, you should have to follow Massimo on Instagram to see this experience, because I feel like I see you singing. You're singing in this thing. It's crazy, Massimo. Like you're crazy in the best possible way. Okay. So that's the Toronto stuff. For Europe, how do people find out? Do you do are the tours like, if I wanted to come with my family and say, hey, listen, we've been to Tuscany before, but we really want to get the Massimo Bruno experience, do they sign up to your newsletter, reach out to you that way, or through Instagram, and you do custom stuff? Or how do people book the email?
Usually that case, like through email, Massimo at massimobruno.com. It's pretty straightforward. So or even to send me a request through my website, or even through Instagram. So right now it's like the multiple way to.
And are those customs things that someone says, hey, I'm going to be there in July, are you available to do a tour? And then you'll kind of price it out. Is that how that's done?
Absolutely, that's what I do. And sometimes, if I can do it's great. If I don't, I can make suggestion as well.
Okay, and then on your tours, do you handle the booking of like the hotels and the transportation, or no, you meet the people there, they handle hotels, transportation locally, and you meet them at the location? How does it work? What's the dynamic there?
It depends on the request. So an example this year, I have the tours that I organize, I host it, so people sign up, that's the price. This year, an example, I had 4 custom tours where I still hosted the tours and then I handle everything. So there's a price per person that I give, and
you handle
usually
it.
a minimum
Okay.
number of people. And so I did a 50th birthday party. I did 65. So they did a family tour, and they said that's actually the best way because actually someone is in charge. I think in particular,
Yeah,
the
controls the whole
friends.
family. Yeah.
I said, that's the first time we haven't fought. and they said, we actually like this. Yes, maybe it costs like just a little bit more, but at the same time, someone takes the decision. And so actually the feedback was fantastic and everyone get to enjoy the experience. So because someone honestly is taking care of the details. So from tour, from the hotel, even where you go eat. And then there's also like some other tour which happened maybe at a couple of days day tour, which they book their own hotels and accommodation and stay somewhere, and maybe organize the kind of the excursion with me. You know, for example, I had a family of 5 people, and I had a driver, and we went for a couple of days around. So we did some tour for a couple of days. So it's a little bit, let's say, an hybrid, way of touring as well.
I think we saw last year that you were doing maybe a tour in Sardinia, and I think Carol has been there briefly, but anyway, we want to go. And I would just think, man, to go there with Massimo and getting your tour of Sardinia there, to me, that's like a dream trip, right? Because you get your insights of it. I guess it's just hitting all my things. I'm in Europe, I'm eating good food, the sun is shining, I'm close to some water. It's like just the perfect trip. So you're doing
Sardinia will be, for tour or no tour, will be, I think, it's already happening. I always believed in Sardinia as an upcoming region of Italy. And as I always say, it's not just it's known for the beautiful beach, but it's also more than that. And so we're going back, next September. So beginning of September, we have another tours going to Sardinia. So so
one day across it, because I know in Puglia you're on the Adriatic there, and my family's on the other side in Croatia, and my cousin runs it's actually my cousin's son. I call him my cousin. My cousin's son runs the top-rated TripAdvisor restaurant on an island called Hvar, Hvar. He has the top-rated restaurant on that island. We were there this summer. One day,
I'll come and see you.
One day, you'll. But I have to say, the Croatian cuisine is great, but it's not the Italian cuisine. It's not the Massimo Bruno Italian. It's great. It's simple and clean and fresh and olive oil and fresh fish and good bread and all that stuff. But the Italian cuisine and then the Massimo Bruno influence on the Italian cuisine, it's. If anyone argues with me about food, I'm like, listen, you're not going to convince me that the Italian cuisine isn't number one in the world. I don't care what you're saying. Okay. I have a heavy bias. Your arguments
I'm biased.
I'm biased too. And I'm not Italian.
As I say, I've been in Switzerland. I've been neutral. I just listen. One thing I can say about Italian cuisine, when people ask me, you think it's the best cuisine? It's one of the most diverse.
Yeah.
So one thing for sure, you can have Austrian dish, you can have a Greek dish, or even North African dish, which can be Italian, and what's called the olive oil, 600 variety, huge amount. So it's one of the most diverse based on the geography. That for sure. Then it's up to people to understand.
I have this joke with my brother-in-law. My brother-in-law is Italian. I have this joke like, one day maybe when I don't know if I'll ever retire. That's a weird word. I don't think I have that word in my life. But one day we should go to Italy and just spend like a month on Parmigiano Reggiano. And that's all we do. Like, there's so much to know about Parmigiano Reggiano that you could probably go to Italy for a month and just focus on the cheese. Just that, and then you could go back to Italy for another month and just focus on like prosciutto. You know what I mean? There's just so much.
You just have to let me know, Tom, because then we'll go together.
It's like that's a deal.
It's like this is kind of test tour that I like to do. It's like one of my favorite things is like, so whenever you're ready, you.
Okay, good. It could be a research tour. Yeah, perfect. So Massimo, I really appreciate doing this. As we wrap up here, there was one term I wanted to talk to you about, and I don't know if we did. Is it cucina, or maybe we did in passing? Cucina povera. How do I say it? Cucina povera. Yeah, what did we talk about that? Like, why? For some reason, when I was looking into you a little bit before we chatted, that term came up. Why did it come up?
It came out because it was actually one of the, when I started doing the supper club tours, one of the cuisine that was typical of the south of Italy. So it's povera means like poor, but it means like farming cuisine. And it's one of those cuisine that I believe like very Mediterranean food. It's very healthy. So it means it's actually based a lot on meat, and as actually well balanced. You got like vegetable, you got legumes, you got, yes, some fish, but it's that kind of cuisine that over the years, now it's coming back, but was the cuisine that your mom would make, but hard to find a restaurant. So it's earthy, it's really good, and for me was like a good way to introduce the cucina povera when I started doing the supper club, because I would serve a dish like minestrone is cucina povera, or ribollita soup from Tuscany is cucina povera, like even a pasta with just a vegetable. So it means again, it's that cuisine which is earthy, it's healthy, and also tells a lot about the people, because now, you know, it's easier just to use an expensive ingredients and make things fancy. But that cuisine executed right, and it's also one of those cuisine that they eat, you know, in Italy is also known for one of those blue zone where people live over 100 years old. And that's the cuisine they eat in those areas, so the cucina povera. So I've always been a big ambassador, I can say, or advocate for cucina povera. It's what I eat at home every day. So cuisine based on like simple ingredients, done right, and the balance. So it's that's where I would describe cucina povera.
Massimo, when people see you on Instagram and see you riding your bike and going to the market and you're there, what do you think you want to stand for? What is it that you're trying to represent when you put yourself out the way you do? What is it that you're trying to share with people?
It's funny that you mentioned the biking, because biking was something that I just started doing. I was on the bike enjoying it and just recorded with my phone. But it's like the feedback of those videos.
Really?
It's been really. I didn't even think, actually, when I came to Canada, everyone's like, "Oh, it's great," but biking the tour. My social media, I took away the pressure of social media. And so my social media represent like the real. If I see something interesting and I feel like sharing, it's like if I'm going for a bike ride and maybe I feel it's worth sharing, and I don't want to kind of sell like the dolce vita. It's like just me hanging out, you know, it's a way for me to connect also with the people like in North America, some friends. So I think through that, it's a way that I do it. And I'm doing it also because I took the pressure off of it, because I think many of us nowadays feels like the pressure. We have to post something, you know, on Instagram or for the business. And so since I put that pressure away, now what I like to share is whatever is spontaneous, whatever I think is interesting, if it happens on the tour. Now, there's also a lot of stuff that sometimes for me it's private that I don't share, but I like to share the place the way it is in that moment. Sometimes
it comes across that way, just so you know. From, again, I only get to see it kind of through my wife when she shows, but it does come across that way, that you're being very authentic when you share. So it's working.
Thank you, and I don't do it with the idea just like, you know, of course, to grow the followers. It's like, this is what I share. Some people enjoy, it's fine, but I'm actually, more than everything now, I'm enjoying it. So
there's a concept in life that I've learned, that like when someone raises their energy, other people are attracted to that energy. And it might sound really simple, and this might sound crazy to an Italian like you, Massimo, who said you weren't meditating and somebody's talking to you this way, but you have an energy about you that you attract people, and people want to be part of it. And that's why the Toronto Supper Club, you know, that's why you had 9 sittings this year. It's why people will fly to Italy and try to meet up with you. They're not just there for the Italian experience. They want to be with Massimo. And maybe someone listening to this might think that's a little strange to say, but I mean it. So
I mean, yeah, and cool. This year also, when you came and we saw each other, you know, I was like, honestly, it was beautiful for like as much for you, but it was the same for us.
Thank you.
Yeah. I didn't have the pressure. There was like, just like in business, it was like just hanging out in my land, talking about, if you would tell me, because I got that land that year, I would have been sitting with, you know, Tom and Carol, beautiful, overlooking the sunset, and dinner with my family a few months before. I would say, I don't think that's impossible. But, you know, that day was just beautiful. And I said, I guess, you know, talk about the land meant to be. And for me, that was a real special moment, independently from the business part. It was like just to connect and you know, like we still remember that day very much. So as important it's been for you, it's been also for us. So
thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. Thank you. So on Instagram, Massimo Bruno Supper Club, or MassimoBruno.com is the website. You can get on his newsletter there. Email him at massimo@massimobruno.com. And I can't wait to see how our paths cross again. And I see you later today. It might be later. Actually, you're in here. Might be a bit too late for an espressino, but maybe tomorrow you'll have one. I'm going to be thinking about you having this espressino, and then I'm going to be cursing because why am I not having an espressino in Europe with you? So
I know you have your coffee. I'm sure you have a machine.
No, you're right. Yes, absolutely. Massimo, thank you so much for this. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
No, thank you very much for having me. It's been great seeing you, Tom. Ciao to everyone and the team. Ciao.
See you.